2023, Sammy Gyamfi was in opposition. I was not at PMMC. Okay. So if you look at clause 13, and I would like to read of that agreement, it says, buyer, the buyer is Bank of Ghana, buyer shall bear the buying agent service charge / fee into brackets operational cost of 0.5% of the utilized portion of the advance funds for acting as buying agent of buyer, unless otherwise agreed, shall cater for logistics and transport cost. So those people who think that it is Sammy Gyamfi that went to GoldBod and he and the GoldBod is feeding fat and they are so parasitic to the Bank of Ghana and they are draining the Bank of Ghana, collecting a lot of fees. And some say, oh, what you see as fees for the PNMC or GoldBod is a loss on the Bank of Ghana's books. They don't really have this information. Either than that, they will not be saying that. So the Bank of Ghana says here, the agreement says the service charge or fee shall cater for logistics and transport cost, insurance, security, smelting loss, and trade margins. The service charge or fee shall be reviewed annually by both parties as market conditions change. This is clause 13 of the agreement, signed in September 2023 at the direction of the economic management team chaired by His Excellency Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, because they were this whole domestic gold purchase program emanated from. Like it's only PMMC or GoldBod that was paid that fee. And that fee is not free money. Like I read to you, there is cost that a buying agent will incur in buying and aggregating raw gold, dory gold from the 13 mining regions of Ghana under a T+3 turnaround cycle and export. And so that is it. And that is why it was paid. Emanated from the EMT chaired by Bawumia, supported by the Parliamentary Select Committee on Mines, negotiated between parties, agreed to, signed. NDC was not in power. Sammy Gyamfi was not at GoldBod. Then there is an asset fee that, in 2016, before President Mahama left office, the PMMC was declared by government policy to be the national assayer. What that meant was that before gold could be exported legally from Ghana, the PMMC had to assay it. Assay is a method of determining the content of a metal in an ore. So they had to assay it and determine the gold content. That is what we call purity. And for an assay is not free. There are workers that does the assay that must be paid. There are chemicals, there are consumables that are used. And so there are machines that are used. You have your OPEX, electricity costs, and all that must be paid. So the GoldBod, like any agency that has IGF, had to charge a fee for assay. And this fee went to Parliament and was approved by Parliament under the Fees and Charges Act 0.258. And this is not a fee that only Bank of Ghana pays. The large scale companies pay $90 for every gold sample that the GoldBod or PMMC assays as assay fee. And for every site visit that our officers make to their gold rooms to inspect the smelting of gold, we charge them $840 per visit. That is the assay fee large scale mining companies paid. Before the GoldBod came, all the other private licensed gold buyers and exporters be them Indians, Chinese, or other foreigners or Ghanaians, before you took your gold out, you will pay the same 0.258% as asset fee on ASM gold. So because the Bank of Ghana was buying ASM gold, that is why it was paying asset fees, which is statutory, passed and approved by Parliament. So these are not fees that Sammy Gyamfi and the GoldBod created. Now, I'll come to the issue of financing, but first of all, let's understand the fees. Now, when the GoldBod came in October 2025, then we had a conversation with Bank of Ghana and said, look, we think that we can reduce the fees. So the fee was then, and I have the letter from the Bank of Ghana confirming this reduction. It is dated October 29th, 2025, signed by Gershon Agblijowu, acting head financial markets. And in this letter, a copy of which I will give you, Alfred and Austin, the fee, which from September 2023 under the NPP, transparently negotiated as 0.5% as a service fee, was reduced to 0.4%. The asset fee that PMMC was charging all people exporting ASM gold, approved by Parliament under Fees and Charges Act 0.258, was reduced to 0.2. So from a total fee of 0.758, we, the Gold Board, under my leadership, brought it down to 0.6%. Then in January of 2026, we brought it further down to 0.35%. And I have a letter signed by the governor of the central bank to that effect. January 2026, which a copy of which I will share with you as well. In fact, it is dated 15 January 2026, and it confirms that program costs have been reduced to 9.75%. And that meant that the component that pertained to fees was further reduced from 0.6% to 0.35%. Now, by February, this was only for 2 months. By March this year, the domestic gold purchase program was brought to an end. I hear people say that now domestic gold purchase program has been transferred to GoldBod. That is not what we are doing. The domestic gold purchase program has ended. It was a Bank of Ghana program. It has ended. In March 2026, on the back of the GANRAP approved by Parliament, the Gold Board began to now fully implement a statutory mandate. And under this mandate, it is not paid any fee by the Bank of Ghana. So that is the history of fees. So when you hear that somebody is saying that the Bank of Ghana is making losses because of Gold Board fees, he doesn't understand what he's talking about. Because these are fees that are not free money, number one. And we are talking about a total of 0.75%. And so if what the IMF says is anything to go by, and I'm not in the position to respond to them because they have not said the Gold Board has made a loss, so I will not respond to them. They said the losses they are talking about is a loss made by Bank of Ghana, right? Now, it's for the Bank of Ghana to address that. Now, they claim that that loss is 17% of the value of gold the Bank of Ghana bought in 2025. Assuming that is true, how does a fee of 0.758% reduce to 0.6 and further to 0.35 responsible for that? And when that fee predates the Gold Board, and when that fee at all material times is known as part of cost, then that can never be an issue of losses, because in the trading of a commodity, profit is a function of selling price minus cost price. So if you know that I'm buying commodity X at 10 cedis and my fee is 0.6 or percent or 0.75%, that is part of your cost. You ensure that you sell the commodity above that so that you make profit. That fee, which is approved by Parliament, not introduced by Sammy Gyamfi and the Gold Board, that fee of 0.5 negotiated by the XY regime cannot be the reason for any losses. And it is important that we set that record straight.
Sammy,
Now on the issue of financing.
Sammy,
No,
can you
Yes.
Sammy,
hear me?
let
Yeah,
Yes.
let's
Yeah, I
um
wanted to
so
dwell. I wanted to maybe touch base a little bit, so or like maybe expand a little bit on the fees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if some of this some of this confusion, right, was because it wasn't clear from the beginning that 2025 was basically a transition year for the gold board, right? And it was basically taking over the original arrangement. I think a lot of the explanation were after the fact, right? That, oh, we are taking over the original arrangement because we are still setting up and all of that, right? Because I think when I read the Gold Board Act, right, I see that Good Boy is doing everything from end to end, right? And so not necessarily being a service provider for the Bank of Ghana. It makes sense that in 2025 being setting up, it was a transition year. But do you feel that it was maybe that communication wasn't clear from the beginning, right? So that
No, no, it was
creates a
very clear. It was very clear. You see, if you don't have information, I always maintain that the right thing to do is to ask. I have gotten a lot of RTIs and I've responded to all RTIs. Suleiman Abrahama will tell you a lot of these institutes and CSOs, I make sure that we always do that. And our act is perhaps one of the most stringent when it comes to transparency. And I think you, Alfred, you even make that point. And so we publish almost everything. Sometimes I come under accusations that I am overly transparent. I'm publishing too many things, and it ends up being spinned and misconstrued and manipulated against us for mischief purposes. So I don't think that was a problem because Alfred, I was appointed to as acting managing director of PMMC on 22nd January 2025. I went there with the main objective given to me by His Excellency the President to go and see to the establishment of the Gold Board. Okay, you cannot establish an agency in one day. And we, with the help of stakeholders and Parliament, were able to get the Gold Board Act passed in record time on the 29th of March 2025. By the 2nd of April, the President assented it. So now Gold Board came into being. Now, when you have formed a new organization and given it this huge mandate of being the sole buyer of gold in Ghana, the national assayer, the sole exporter, the one that must promote and ensure value addition, that is the one that must fight smuggling, the one that must deploy a task force at entry and exit points to make sure that we control smuggling, the one that must promote land reclamation and sustainability initiatives, ensure traceability, value chains. You need a whole new organization, workers, logistics, and everything. You cannot establish that organization overnight. Okay, so we needed time. My minister always says, Sammy, you need to walk before you crawl and before you run. So let's get the basics right. So after 2nd of April, we occupied ourselves with putting in place the necessary institutional, measures to make sure that we have gold board. So what were we supposed to do during that transition period? Government said, because under the Gold Board Act, Parliament provided for transitional provisions under Section 78. And it reads, the rights, and I'm reading 78(1) Gold Board Act, the rights, assets, and liabilities that have accrued in respect of the properties vested in the Precious Minerals Marketing Company in existence immediately before the coming into force of this act are transferred to the Gold Board established under this act. So all the obligations and the rights Gold Board had under the September 2023 gold purchase agreement and Bank of Ghana, where the PMMC was a buying agent, Gold Board took over. So Gold Board,
Austin. I think we lost Sammy a little bit there.
um um yeah um hello Sammy. I don't know, he's having network connection,
things.
but okay,
All right,
Sammy, we
Sammy, we
lost
lost
you.
you there briefly. So
Can I, yeah, can I go? I'm going to the financing now. So I said, when we
yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah. Go ahead,
financing of
please.
Gold Board, We are talking
No, no,
about two
I have
things.
a question on that. So let me finish with what we just my question on
Okay.
the fees. You see, Sammy, um, it was passed in 2020 to 2023, agreed. But the 0.5 you're talking about, right? There's a reason in October took a decision as GoldBod and Bank of Ghana view downwards that service charge. Also, there's a reason you say the large companies are not paying percentage terms, but they are paying absolute fee of $90. From
Yes.
2023 till October or start of 2025, there was a 44% jump in the price of gold. Don't you think
Mhm.
that because we also racked up about 150% what we were buying previously, then under the PMMC that you inherited for 2025, I think 140 tons, when previously we had done 50 something,
104.
104, when previously we had
Mm.
done what? Lesser.
63. 63.
So what you
Mhm.
did, something would have culminated in you taking that decision. I mean, Gold Board with Bank of Ghana to review it downwards. Who believes that GoldBod belongs to Ghana? You need to make money. Bank of Ghana also belongs to Ghana. But you could have taken that decision in July and you still would have been okay. There's a reason you
So now, Austin, so can I answer you? So your question is that the reduction in the fees you believe should have been done earlier.
yeah, because
Is that your question?
we are buying more,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
not
but
more.
number one, yeah, really can't. I hope you can see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can
Good.
hear you better.
So I'm saying that um, when you have a contract, okay, and there are terms under the contract, I mean, the contract allows you, if you look at the clause 13 I read, it said the parties every year should review the fees. Unfortunately, the fees were not reviewed in 2024. There was a huge jump in gold prices between 2023 and 2024 under the NPP. The fees remained 0.758% in total. Quantities went up from about 23 tons to 63 tons. The fees remained there. Okay. Now we came into power. And bear in mind that when the quantities are increasing, then it means that the work of the buying agent is also increasing. And so is the cost of the buying agent. So it is not that simple that because you have volumes going up, then it means you are making so money. So you just go and cut down. You need to look at it well. But at the end of the day, when the Bank of Ghana said, look, we think that given the quantities going up, give us a reduction, we agreed.
Oh, okay. So now is the Bank of Ghana that suggested that because of quantities going up and also the price.
The
Okay. Sammy, you can continue then to the fine.
Yes, so because of the quantities going up, we were able to bring it further down to 0.35. And as I speak to you, it is zero. We don't take any fees because now we've ended domestic gold purchase program. The gold board is not an agent of the Bank of Ghana again. The gold board is responsible for both the buying and the selling of the gold. And all we do is to bring in foreign exchange to support this economy. So that is it. But let me go to the important issue of financing you raised. So when we talk about financing or funding for gold board, you're talking about number one, the revolving funds that the gold board deploys for gold purchases. The revolving funds that we give to our aggregator to go and buy gold. Okay. Then there is another funding which has to do with the cost of our operations. Now, under the 2025 domestic gold purchase program that the gold board continued under as a buying agent for the PMMC, it was Bank of Ghana's program. So Bank of Ghana was funding it because it is their program. They have appointed buying agents like Red Sapphire, like Asanko, like PMMC, which later became GoldBod. So if I'm your agent and you're the principal, you give me money to buy gold for you. That is not pre-financing of GoldBod. That is Bank of Ghana giving money to an agent to buy gold. So sometimes we misuse the terms. That is not pre-financing. So from GoldBod, or if like for 2025, PMMC, which later became GoldBod, started taking money from Bank of Ghana as a buying agent to buy gold on the 3rd of February 2025 because PMMC had ended by December. And when I went there, I needed time to go through the records audit before we resumed. So reconciliations were done. And then on 3rd of February, we started a new financial year with them. So from that 3rd of February all the way to February 2026, Bank of Ghana was not pre-financing GoldBod. Bank of Ghana was buying gold through a buying agent. That's number one. And therefore, they were providing the money to buy, and then they were also dealing with the cost of the program because it was their program. The gold was theirs. If GoldBod bought gold, GoldBod could not sell the gold. GoldBod has to go and give the gold to Bank of Ghana, and then Bank of Ghana must sell it to their counterparties, off-takers. Okay. Now, under this new regime, the GoldBod regime, where now we are in charge of the trade, because I heard people saying, oh, now that GoldBod is coming, we have already started. It is not something we are coming to do. And we started from March 2026. The gold that we buy, the funds for buying the gold comes from commercial banks. So by extension, it comes from Ghanaian businesses, particularly BDCs. So there are people in Ghana who require forex, dollars for imports and for payments. They have commercial banks and they go to their commercial banks that they need dollars. And the economic activity, the activity in this economy is not able to generate enough dollars to meet that demand. So the commercial banks will have to go to the central bank for dollars. And if the central bank gives them dollars from our reserves, then the reserves will be depleted. So that is why people makes the point when they say that central bank is pumping dollars. What do you mean by pumping dollars? You must understand the difference between intervention and intermediation. The two words are not the same. Intervention is where the central bank falls on its reserves, okay, to give effects to the market. Intermediation is where the central bank goes as an intermediary, simply put, a middleman, and says that you want dollars, you have cedis. So bring the cedis to me through an auction, and I will go and give these cedis to the gold board. And then the gold board will go and buy gold and sell the gold. This time around, because gold board owns the trade, the gold board will not bring the gold to Bank of Ghana. The gold belongs to gold board. So then gold board will sell it and the dollars will be paid to gold board. And then the gold board will convert the dollars with the Bank of Ghana. And then gold board will pay the cedis. Then Bank of Ghana takes the dollars and settles. If we want to continue the trade, then we go back with the cedis. Either than that, then the cedis go back to the Bank of Ghana. It settles. We settle them. You understand? So that is also not Bank of Ghana pre-financing gold board. That is Bank of Ghana being an intermediary for the raising of cedis from commercial banks and by extension their customers. For the gold board, the money, is not the property of Bank of Ghana. You must understand that. So what the Bank of Ghana is doing in that context is what we call intermediation. They are taking people's cedis and they are converting it into dollars for them without depleting the reserves. And that is why from 2016, when President Mahama was leaving office, Ghana's total gross international reserves was $4.8 billion. In 8 years, by the time the NPP was leaving office, they had increased it from $4.8 billion to $8.9 billion, a nominal increase of $4.1 billion in 8 years. But in only 1 year, President Mahama's government increased it from $8.9 billion to $13.8 billion, an increase of 4.8 says Bank of Ghana gave to the market came from. It means nobody went into reserves to carry $10.6 billion and pumped into the market. Somebody was creative and innovative enough to say, I will take the CDs of FS seekers and I will convert it into dollars through this gold board arrangement and use the dollars for them. And the remainder, I will add it to the reserves. So as I am ensuring FS market stability, I am also building the reserves. And that is why we could give $10.6 billion to the FS market, get the CD appreciating by 41%, and yet reserves went up exponentially by 4.8 billion, 13.8 billion. You understand? So that is one form of financing for Gold Board. The Bank of Ghana from March, April, May, June was this intermediary. July, this intermediary. By the end of July, the Gold Board said, we don't want you, Bank of Ghana, to be the intermediary again because your program, domestic good purchase program, has ended. We are no longer your agent. We now own and control this trade. And so long as you play this intermediary role, the IMF can suspect you that the money you are giving Gold Board to buy gold, not all is coming from commercial banks. And that perhaps you are adding what we call high-powered money. We don't want to have any issues with the IMF. Okay? Number two, there are many people like Alfred and my brother Bryce Simmons, who will say what GoldBod is doing is a fiscal activity. So they call it quasi-fiscal activity. And that the central bank should not be involved because the central bank can take on certain risks on its books that it is not supposed to take on. So the GoldBod says, Yempene Toto, Yempene Noah. We want Bank of Ghana, stop your intermediary role. We will go and raise our monies ourselves. And there are two ways that we can raise that money. We can go to our off-takers and ask them to pay for gold in advance in dollars. When that dollars come, we will offload it to commercial banks who have accounts with us based on Bank of Ghana's FX regulation. And that is something we are discussing with the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana. Then there is another method that the Good Board can raise financing. Financing for activity is the easiest. Is the easiest. And there is another way. And that way is what the Bank of Ghana was doing as an intermediary. We do that ourselves. Not through an auction, but through what we call a funded forward FX sale. So I go to commercial banks and I say, you need dollars. I expect to buy gold worth $600 million in the next 2 weeks. And this $600 million will be coming in the next 2 weeks or 1 week. So if you want these dollars, I want to sell it to you in advance at the Bank of Ghana reference rate for the day we are making this deal. Okay. And this is something that the Gold Board experimented on the 3rd of August. And we raised $75 million. And in a record 48 hours, we were able to convert the CD equivalent of $75 million into dollars. We didn't use the Bank of Ghana. There are some issues that have come with regards to the framework. And currently, we are working with the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance on fine-tuning it by the 19th of August of this month. And it is our expectation that once we are done, the Gold Board will stand on its own because that is what we want. We don't want to depend on the Bank of Ghana again as an intermediary raising money for us because of how all of you, sometimes misconstrue that thing. And it's our expectation that we will continue that program, these two methods that I've spoken on. So that is what we call Gold Board financing. The last aspect of the financing is what we now call baseline program implementation cost. Okay, so once Gold Board has now assumed a statutory mandate, Gold Board is supposed to fund the cost of its operations. And it can fund that cost by pricing in that cost and saying that my cost is 5%. So I will buy gold at 5% discount. Or I will buy it less that cost and I will, through effective trading, generate trading gains or profits and use part of my profit to defray my cost. That is what GoldBod is expected to do. And GoldBod has the men and the women to do that. But then government comes and government says, I have a vision. And my vision is that within the next 3 years, I want build to build interfering calls. I don't know. Hello.
Yes, I mean we can hear
Yes,
you. I think.
good. So I want to build I want to build 15 reserves that can give me 15 months of import cover. And I want to call that Ghana Accelerated National Reserve Accumulation Program. I heard one of your speakers the last time say that, excuse my language, is the most stupid policy he has ever heard. That is because he doesn't really understand it. Because he said, we need money to go and build schools, and you say you're going to put it in reserves. But when we talk about foreign reserves, it is not CDs for you to go and spend. We are talking about foreign currency. You understand? And every economy, the most essential, the backstop, the most important foundation for every economy is your reserves. Because the reserves will determine FS market stability and balance of payment. Your reserves will determine your ability to meet your obligations as a government. When you owe external creditors, you can't pay them in cedis, you pay them in dollars. When you're going to pay IPPs, you pay them in dollars. Okay? So every government with a foresight must build enough reserves. Ghana traditionally has built reserves to give it traditionally 3 months of import cover. So, anytime we have exogenous shocks like COVID 19, then we run out of reserves. And then you get what happened in 2022 currency depreciation of 54%. Is that what we want? Do we know when the next COVID 19 will come? So, you need to plan for the future. And that is why the government says we want to do this program for the next 3 years only. And because we want to build 15 months of import cover reserve that can give us that, we are going to use the GoldBod. And so instead of GoldBod trying to fend for itself by pricing in their cost, and we think that can affect production and FX inflows and all that, we will budget 5% of the entire value of GoldBod will buy as cost, which we will give to the GoldBod as expenditure. Okay, look, the last conversation I listened to, I heard Austin always repeating that mistake. And now GoldBod says, government says they are reducing losses from 14.5% to 5%. No, Austin, we are not reducing losses from 14.5% to 5%. We have brought the losses and baseline program implementation costs are not the same. And I'll explain what baseline program implementation cost is and the difference. So the cost is what government is saying, me, I can only budget for 5%. And what is wrong with that? Is it when Alfred says money that you should have used for big push, you're using for this. When we have a budget every year, Alfred, and here I want to engage you. Do we budget for goods and services or not? Don't we
Yeah,
budget
we
for
do.
goods and services? We do. So the A4 sheet, the pen, the fuel, and what MMDAs and government agencies will use, we budget for it. Do we budget for KPS? We budget for it, right? The
Mhm.
roads, the schools, we budget for it. So government says just like a road is a public good, just like A4 sheet, fuel, all that is a public good that I budget for and I spend taxpayers' money on. Having 15 months of reserves, import cover, is also a public good. And perhaps even more important than the goods and services. Because if you don't build those reserves and you get external shocks and you deplete your reserves and your currency come under pressure, and Ghanaians will now have to pay 16 cedis to get a dollar. The big push project, if 1 kilometer today, when the dollar is less than 12 cedis, will cost you 1 million cedis. If the exchange rate is 16 cedis, you may spend times two or 50% more. So the exchange rate is so important. If the exchange rate goes up, your debt obligation, your external debt obligation balloons because the external debt is converted at the official exchange rate. And therefore, the cedis you must convert to service that debt goes up in the billions. You understand? So the government now says, for these 3 years, not in perpetuity, I am ready 5% from my budget as baseline.
Alfred, can you hear me?
No, I think we lost him again. We have to, and Perry has to stop calling him. So he
I,
can.
I think some people are calling him, and that is the problem. But let me
Yeah.
put this out: the Black Queens of Ghana also playing Malawi in the women AFCON in the quarterfinal,
We
and when
can
is
bring
that
this program implemented.
and it's 1-1 currently, 25 minutes. Um,
Sammy, can you hear us?
Somebody should prompt Sammy that maybe he's receiving calls and it's affecting his network connectivity. But like I was saying, Ghana Malawi, uh, women AFCON quarterfinal, it's 1-1. Ghana scored first in the 6th minute, and the Malawian ladies also equalized in the 11th minute. A win will help us to qualify for the FIFA Women's World Cup. Um, hello, Sammy. Okay, so if you've just joined us, we are having a conversation with the CEO of the Ghana GoldBod, Mr. Sammy Gyamfi. The plan was to do 2 hours with him, 1 hour, 30 minutes for the host and the co-host. But we are already going beyond time. When he's done with this, Eugene would come in. Then after Eugene asks his question, then the audience will request for the mic to share their thoughts. I don't know. Sammy, can you hear us? Can anybody prompt him that we cannot hear him? There is network connectivity challenges. Okay, Sammy. Hello, Sammy. Okay, Sammy, what you have to do is you have to drop and request for the mic again. Drop and I don't know the challenge you're facing, but please drop and request for mic again if you can hear us, Sammy.
My guess is it's he's probably on a phone call or something, right? Because that would also interfere with
Okay.
yeah.
So I don't know, Alfred. Whilst he connects,
Austin, can you hear me? Or did we lose you too? Hello, Austin. Eugene, can you hear me?
yeah, Alfred, we can hear you speak. Alfred, speak.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, so it's interesting the explanation on the 5% and the reallocation from the budget and things like that. Because one of the things that I when Sammy was speaking, one of the things that I oh
Hello?
Sammy is back, yeah.
Yeah, good, good. Africa, can you help me? Where did you lose me?
You were talking about the explaining the 5% and the budgetary allocation and justifying
Alas.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh God. I didn't know that you lost me. So where did I end on the 5%?
I think you were I remember you spoke about schools and the fact that we make allocations for
Oh, then you lost me. Okay, no problem. Let me go back to it. So I'm saying that just like government budgets for public goods, be it goods and services, be it statutory payments, be it capital expenditure, government sees economic stability as a public good. So the government says for the next 3 years, it is going to implement a program called GANRAP to accumulate reserves that can provide 15 months of import cover. So that should there be exogenous shocks again like COVID-19, Ghana will not go down, the economy will not go down. And we know that once we have the exchange rate under control, inflation will be under control, cost of living will be under control, and our people, can enjoy their lives. Because inflation is one of the most, I call it the biggest thief in every economy. It takes money from the pockets of ordinary, um, from the pockets of citizens. And so that is why government is very passionate about it. And the government says, for the next 3 years, because I don't want GoldBod to be profit driven, to be overly profit driven, and reduce the kind of inflows we expect, we will budget 5% for you. The cost is actually not 5% as we speak. I need to clarify. The program cost since March when we took over is 6%. But government says they can only pay 5%. And GoldBod said, thank you. We are paying the 1%. How do we pay the 1%? We use the profit we make from our trade to pay the 1%. Okay. And we've told government that by next year, we are going to reduce it to 3%. And by 20 explain to you how we are going to do that. Now, Alfred, this is all you need to know about GoldBod financing. But before I pause, you have been making a strong point, and I think it is tied to this issue. So let me address it. I've seen you and many argue that, look, why must there even be a cost of 5%? GoldBod must price in their cost and buy a discount so that they don't even need any cost. Okay. Do you know that as we speak today, the gold board has been able to discount the price of gold in Ghana by more than 10%? Alfred, do you know that?
Through the exchange rate, right?
Exactly. And that is the biggest headache because, Alfred, there are two types of markets: the bank markets and the banking market and the non-bank market. When you talk about FX, those who operate in the non-bank markets don't know anything called interbank rates. There is no landlord in Ghana who charges for rent for their apartment at East Legon or Cantonment, who converts their rent from dollars into cedis using interbank rates. Since we started buying gold in Ghana, in calculating the price of gold in Ghana cedis, no miner knows what is called interbank rate. They don't even see it. They can't even access it. So gold from from the days of our forefathers is bought in Ghana at Forex Bureau rate. Now, note this because you made this mistake during your last conversation. Forex Bureau rate is not black market rate or paro rate. The black market rate is what we call paro rate. It is illegal. Forex bureaus are licensed by the Bank of Ghana and their rates are regulated by the Bank of Ghana. So they operate in the non-bank markets where they sell physical dollar, we call cash dollars. So when a miner is asking for you to pay him a good price at Forex Bureau rate, it is not illegal because Forex bureaus are legal. Okay. And that is the rate they see. And that is why, since time immemorial, gold prices will usually come out after Forex Bureau prices will come out around 10, 11, 12 p.m. because that is the exchange rate they use for the calculation. But the gold board came and said, look, for 2025, there wasn't much that could be done because we had just come. We didn't even have the structures and the human resources to regulate and police these markets and dominate the market. And if you don't have market dominance and you come and you say, I'm moving the exchange rate from Forex Bureau to Interbank, when you know that sometimes the gap between Forex Bureau and Interbank is 1 cedi or 1 cedi 50 pesos or 2 cedis, you think that the miner will sell the gold to you? No. So we had to go gradual approach, conduct a lot of stakeholder consultations. And eventually, this year, 2026, we have been able to bring the exchange rate determinant of the local price of gold from Forex Bureau rates to interbank, meaning that we have discounted gold by more than 1,000 Ghana cedis per pound as I speak today. That is more than 8-10% depending on the gap at any given time. And we have been able to do this without compromising volumes. The last time any government tried to introduce a tax or a discount on gold, 2021, 3% withholding tax. 2022, 1.5%. Let me tell you what happened. In 2018, during the ban on small scale mining, Ghana exported 75 tons of ASM gold through the PMMC. In 2019, 53.4 tons. In 2020, 39 tons. Note that during the ban, we exported 75 tons, more than 2019 when there was no ban, and 2020 when there was no ban. In 2021, when a discounting tax of 3% was introduced, we got 3.4 tons. And in 2022, we got 22 tons. Okay. Now, GoldBod has been able to discount gold by over 10%. And yet, last year we got 104 tons. As I speak to you, we've gotten 70 tons and August has not ended. And it is clear that by the end of this year, we will cross, we would have surpassed the 104 tons we got last year. So it takes tact and a lot of strategic thinking to do these things without disrupting the market flows. Okay. Now put that exchange rate aside. So, like I can say, I say ufiti preko pepi usia mujaba. Now you've done with the exchange rate. So you want to now introduce a discount. And next year we are bringing a discount of 2%. But we don't think that you should do all at a time. Because when you try that, if you don't take care, smugglers will take over the market. And I'll come to the issue of smugglers. Okay. Now, number two is the issue of the world market price itself. Do you know that until 2021, before the start of the domestic gold purchase program, gold in Ghana, in terms of world market price, the exchange rate had always been Forex Bureau, but in terms of world market price, the determinant had always been the spot price at a discount of minimum 1.5% or 2%. So how come that now GoldBod has to buy gold at spot prices? How come? How did we get here? How did it start? So let me tell you about that. You were absolutely right, Alfred, when you said that domestic gold purchase program was a crisis, solution. Because by 2021, 2022, Ghana had lost access to the capital market. We could not go for Euro bonds again. We had become debt insolvent. Okay. So the currency was under pressure. 2022 was the year that the cedi depreciated by 54%. Okay. Now, the government now decides to go into a crisis program to meet this. And the NPP government, through its Minister for Lands, Samuel Abujinapo, was the one that announced that henceforth, anybody who has a license to buy gold can buy the gold. What is my evidence? Ghana Web. Let me give you, and anybody watching can Google. I'll give you two stories. Ghana Web, okay? Saturday, 26 November 2022. Large scale mining firms to sell 20% of refined gold to BOG. And if you read a story, you will see that they quote the minister, say, effective 1st January 2023, all large-scale mining, this was a directive in November 2022 to take effect in January 2023. So the story reads, effective January 2023, all large-scale mining companies, as agreed with the Bank of Ghana, shall sell 20% of all refined gold, blah, blah, blah. Then it says, the Bank of Ghana and the Precious Minerals Marketing Company will coordinate with large-scale mining companies to ensure compliance with this directive. Also, All community mining schemes shall sell their gold outputs to government through PMMC. All mining, also all licensed small-scale gold miners shall sell their gold to government through the PMMC. The gold to be purchased by the Bank of Ghana and the PMMC will be in cedis at spot price with no discounts. Spot price means when you are going to sell your gold on the international market, there is the international market price of gold. That is the highest price at which you can sell that gold. So for the government to have introduced this policy in January 2023, the government was saying the price that Ghana will get when we are going to sell our gold, we are giving 100% of it to the miner. 100% full price. Meaning that any cost that will be incurred by the Bank of Ghana will be cost or losses on their book. They did it because they were in crisis. And that is why I said on Newsfile in 2025 December, that they didn't design domestic gold purchase program to make profits. Because if they designed, their intention was for domestic gold purchase program to make profit, they would not say they will buy gold at spot price at no discount. So why are they surprised when the Bank of Ghana makes losses of 400 million in 2024? And now IMF say 1.7 because of the scaling up, the expansion of the program. You design it like that. But the GoldBod mandate, which is being implemented effective March this year, is not designed to make losses. It is designed to generate foreign exchange for this country while at the same time making profits. That is why this year we bought 70 tons of gold, but we have not sold over 27 tons of it. The gold we have bought is worth $9.4 billion, but the inflow so far is only $5.5 billion. Why? Because unlike the Bank of Ghana, the gold board is trading gold. We are not just buying gold and selling, whether or not we will make losses and bringing in dollars. So let me show you the difference. Gold board is profit driven, objective number one. Number two, gold board has a different pricing model. The Bank of Ghana was buying gold at live gold price. Live. It changes every second. And therefore, Alfred, if you bought gold, say at Asenkrigwa at 10,000 Ghana cedis in the morning, 9 a.m. By 4 p.m., gold may be 12,000. The miner, even though he bought the gold at 10,000, do you think he will tell you bought it at 10,000? No. He will choose the highest price of gold that day and sell it to you and say, I bought it at 12,000. And you cannot dispute it. Okay. And number two, the person, because you're using live prices, somebody can buy gold for you at 10,000. Within 3 days, the gold, when you buy the gold in that village or town, the gold will take about 3 days before it gets to Accra. By the time the gold gets to Accra and you are coming to export, the price has dropped. So if you sell it, you make a loss. And this was the system of domestic gold purchase program. Now the gold boss says, no, under our model, we are using the LBME pricing windows. Morning price AM at 9:30, PM price for evening at 2:30 PM. So you can only buy gold under two fixed price. And we brought a booking system. Once you buy gold within 5 minutes, you must book it on a digital platform. So I sit in my office, and for every pricing window, fixed price, morning 9:30 to 2 p.m., I know the quantity of gold GoldBod has bought. Before that gold gets to Accra, I can sell that gold. We call it sales in advance of shipment. So I call my off taker and I say, I have bought 200 kg of gold this morning. I am selling it. Even though I've not exported it, that is how gold is sold. I've fixed the price already with you. I've sold it. So if the price is going to come down, I will not make a loss. Worst case, I break even. Okay. I can also sell it upon shipment. Wait for the gold to come and sell it upon shipment. Or under the gold bond model, we do what we call deferred price fixing. I can export gold to an off-taker and say, I am not selling the gold, but I need dollars for the Ghanaian economy. So take the gold and give me 85% of the value. And we will use the 15% as a hedge. You understand? So the Bank of Ghana was not doing hedging. It didn't have this kind of pricing model and because it was not set up to trade gold. Domestic gold purchase program, brilliant initiative. But that government needed a gold board to implement it. You could not use a central bank to implement it with and with the kind of pricing model. You were going to have the challenges that the program has been bedeviled with from 2021 till date, never made profits. Okay. So this is the difference between what the Bank of Ghana was doing and what we are doing. It is not
Mm,
the same.
mm,
Okay. And a gold board is expected to plow back part of its profit to reduce costs. So when we say we are going to reduce the cost further, even though government is willing to give us 5% for GANRAP for 3 years, and then after 3 years, they dump us to fend for ourselves. We are saying we will not even wait for the 3 years. Next year, we can do with three. How? After discounting gold by 10% through the movement from Forest Bureau rate to interbank, we think that we have now stabilized the market. We have not compromised the flows. So we think that we can do 3%. We also think that this year we can make some very good profits that we ourselves as Gold Board. Now we are taking 1% of the cost. We believe we can take more. Okay. And then we are coming to introduce something called FFSP, ASM FFSP, ASM Formalization and Financing Support Program. You know that, Alfred, in Ghana, even as the government through the Bank of Ghana's policy, they were buying gold at spot prices. There are Chinese in Ghana who buy gold at 15% discount, at 20% discount. How are they able to get it at 20%, 15%? My friend Vanderpoy of MSC, he buys gold at 15% discount and 10%. How are they able to do that? And government is not able to do that because they are ready to take the risk of going into providing financing. Because the miner, the one who finances him is the one he gives his gold to at a discount. But how do we do this without worsening the environmental concern associated with ASM? And that is why formalization becomes the condition precedent. How do we move the informal ones into the formal sector, address the environmental concerns while at the same time addressing cost through the purchase of gold at significant discounts that can generate more profit for Gold Board and by extension the state. So that's what we are talking
amazing.
about.
Okay.
I know, Sammy. I think we're almost approaching the time that we agree with you.
No, no problem. I can
Okay,
extend if you
we
want me
have
to
a few more
extend. I'm
questions,
able to
but
extend.
I wanted to talk about let's talk about the environment, right?